Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My parents and I, 33 male, started a company in my parents' basement when I was 17. My brother was 6 at the time. My parents, who were in their late 60s and already dealing with health issues, got me going and mentored me. By the time I turned 20, I was basically running everything solo because their health declined further. The business grew over the years, and when my brother turned 16, our parents and I each gifted a portion of equity totaling 20% equity in the company. It was a symbolic gesture as much as anything, as he wasn't involved at the time. But they wanted both their kids tied to the legacy of something they helped start. Now my brother is 22, in college, and does part-time work for the business. When he finishes his degree, he's planning to come work full-time, and we've been mapping out what that will look like. Because of that, and because I want to see him succeed, I've been paying for his college tuition and living expenses. This comes out of my salary. To me, it's an investment in someone who'll be part of the business long-term. Plus, I know our parents would have wanted him taken care of. He already contributes and he'll have more responsibilities soon. On to the issue. My fiancé has a younger sister, 19 female, who just got accepted to college. She didn't get the full scholarship she hoped for, and her family isn't in the best financial position. A couple of weeks ago, my fiancé asked me if I would consider paying her sister's tuition as well. I was surprised. I asked what she meant, and she said, "Well, you pay for your brother's college. Why not mine too? If we're building a life together, shouldn't we treat our families equally?" I told her no, the situations are completely different. My brother owns part of the business, works in it now, and will be working full-time with me after graduation. His education is, in part, tied directly to our future as business partners. Besides, he's my brother. Her sister is, and I don't have any kind of financial or professional connection, nor do I consider her college education my responsibility. I admit I was cold in my delivery, and unsurprisingly that didn't go over well. She told me I was showing favoritism, that it proves I don't see her family as mine, and that if I'm willing to help my sibling, I should be just as willing to help others. But I refused. I don't see it that way. I'm not a sister's brother. I'm not a parent. We're not married yet, and even if we were, I still think there's a big difference between supporting a sibling who is a business partner and supporting someone else's sibling with $68,000 tuition a year. She's been distant ever since. She's made a couple of sarcastic remarks. Now I'm starting to wonder, am I the a-hole here? Update. My fiancé's parents showed up at my place this weekend. I wasn't expecting them. They said they just wanted to talk. But the second they sat down, her dad launched into this weirdly stern lecture like I was a teenager who had broken curfew. He said, "We were counting on you to help send sister to expensive private college. That's what we thought was happening all along." I told them I never offered that. I never suggested I would fund her college, nor did anyone ever discuss this with me. I said I would help her here and there if needed, but I'm not obligated to pay nearly $250,000 tuition for someone just because I'm marrying into the family. I added that coming to my house to berate me wasn't acceptable. Conversation over. I showed them to the door. They weren't happy. Her mom looked embarrassed, but didn't say much. Her dad left, still grumbling. My fiancé's been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. Short answers, barely talking, completely different vibe than even a week ago. She hasn't brought up the college thing again yet, but it's hanging in the air like a storm cloud. I've had some time to think, and I don't see how this relationship moves forward. If this is how financial boundaries are treated now, before we're even married, it's a huge red flag. I don't want to merge lives with someone who thinks my wallet is a shared resource for her entire family. I'm going to have a final conversation with her soon. But unless something drastically changes, I'm going to end the engagement. Story 2. I had an open position at my small business in which I was trying to decide between two candidates. They were both fully competent for the position. On paper, candidate A was slightly better than candidate B. They are both in their early 20s, fresh college graduates. During the interview, I asked them both about overtime. I made it clear multiple times that the position was a regular 9 to 5, but overtime would be expected, not required, multiple times per quarter. Candidate A told me she had 4 kids, so she depends on childcare. She is always willing to work overtime, but she needs to get her kids from her childcare. Candidate B told me she doesn't care. She's down to work whenever, wherever. I picked candidate B. Okay, yeah, I said expected because that's what it is. I expect you to do it. If you can't, then it's not a big deal. I can find another team member to cover it, or do it myself. I don't want to be in a position where I'm constantly asking another team member to cover for you because you have other things to do. That is not fair, especially considering the pay would be essentially the same. If something comes up, then don't worry about it. You're definitely okay because we're a work family. But you can't just take without giving back. That is not fair for everyone else. I pay more than the median for this position. I offer more vacay than the median. I do not discriminate between sick and vacay. If you can't come in, just tell me. You'll still get paid up to a certain amount of days. Days after, just tell me. You won't get paid, but it's okay. I'm still a human, so I'll have to think about that. But it's not a big deal. Regardless, if you tell me that it might be a constant issue, I should do what's best for my business and pick the person that tells me it will never be an issue. My girlfriend is disgusted that I would literally turn down a better on-paper candidate because she has kids and then turn around and hire someone with no kids. I don't feel like that's what I'm doing. It doesn't matter why. The point is she has other commitments that would conflict with what I'm hiring for. She says I would never discriminate against a man with 4 kids. I've never known that information during the hiring process of a man. I never asked. I didn't ask in this situation. Both candidates felt like they need to tell me. I do have single dads on my payroll. I also hire over 2 times as many women as other companies in my industry because I feel like I'm good at ignoring stuff like gender, race, etc. She says I have single dads because society decided dads can work and moms are less. I just want my business to succeed. Edit. She said overtime when she wants, where she wants, not necessarily overtime when it's needed. I don't understand why OP is being ripped to pieces in the comments. He didn't hire her, not because she had 4 kids, but because she gave an ambiguous answer when asked if she can work overtime. Since she's reliant on childcare, she almost certainly will struggle with overtime. And it's really unfair for other employees to constantly have to cover someone else's shifts. OP is right. Now for some comments. You are the a-hole. Just because you did what was best for you doesn't mean you're exempted from being the a-hole. You said that it was expected, but not required to frequently do overtime, outside the regular hours. Therefore, you chose the one without kids, because she will be more flexible, willing to stay late and doesn't have as many obligations outside of work, so you could benefit. The other candidate never said they wouldn't, just that they had to make arrangements for daycare. You are the a-hole. Regardless of whether or not she shared the information on her own, you explicitly state that your reason for rejecting her is because of her children. You are the a-hole and a shitty boss. It sounds like overtime is a non-issue for candidate A if you give her a heads up ahead of time. You are mad that you can't just walk up to the employee's desk at 3 p.m. and inform them you expect them to stay late tonight. Doing that might make you feel like a big man, but it impresses no one. Story 3. Going to keep this short. My husband purchased a rental property before we got married. We have a prenup that excludes the rental property from marital assets in the event of a divorce. I was and am totally okay with this. Just because people are going to ask, we both have full-time jobs, and I make more than he does, by quite a bit. Recently, there was some severe water damage to that rental property, and it needs quite a bit of construction to fix the damage. He wants to use some of our marital savings to pay for the construction. I said absolutely not. It's his property, so he needs to pay for it with his own personal savings. He didn't like that and argued that since we are married, we are a team, so we need to conquer this together. I do not agree. If our marital house had the same damage, I wouldn't think twice about using marital funds, but don't think it's fair to use them on his property. He made it perfectly clear that the property was not marital property, so I have a huge issue in spending marital funds on that property. I argue that I receive no benefit by putting my money into his property. I will never see a return nor receive my money back, so I will not allow the expense. I've instead offered to loan him money, interest-free, via a contract with structured repayment period, but he won't agree to that, as I'm making it more complicated than it needs to be. He thinks I'm completely irrational and unfair, and the asshole, but I really don't think I am, so am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. He wanted it to be excluded from being a marital asset, so why spend your money on fixing it when you will see no returns or benefit from it? I would point out to him that doing this can actually void the prenup if he legally started that it's his alone and not marital property, but uses marital funds to maintain it. That greatly calls into question the validity of this claim, and you could use this to get rights to it in a divorce. Note that this is not the same as you accepting funds from the place as marital property, since that not adding value to the property. If he wants this to be his and his alone, he gets to foot the burden. If he wants to make it joint property instead of personal property, go ahead and help. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. Not the a-hole. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This just so happens to be about real estate. It's still a stupid game to stipulate that the rental property is not a marital asset, and then expect to use marital asset to cover it. He wants it both ways, and he can't have it. Poor baby. Story 4. So, my sister, we'll call her S, used to be a college student and just finished up her first and most likely last year. As of today, she's on academic suspension and will not be allowed to attend classes for a semester because of her poor performance. S wanted to be a mechanical engineer and was majoring in that, but due to the fact that she never passed her general classes, never got to take any classes in that area. This whole week, S has been crying and bitching whenever someone talked to her, telling everyone that it's unfair and that her teachers are the reason she did so bad. She has somehow convinced my mom that one of the teachers verbally harassed her. Everyone has been supporting her and trying to help her through this hard time. The thing is, S is lying. I go to the same school as she does and am 2 years ahead of her. I know for a fact that she never went to class or did any of the work. The first time she started crying saying that her teacher was mean to her, I went and talked to him. The verbal harassment was sitting down with her during his office hours to tell her she statistically cannot pass his class due to not even showing up to the midterm. She has failed 6 of the 8 classes she took, and the ones she passed were with C-. Because of this, she was suspended for 1 semester and cannot fail again. Last night, when we got confirmation, she began to rant saying that her teachers were against her and that it's their fault. I told her no, it's not. She is just lazy and didn't want to put in any effort, and now is playing the victim. We argued for almost an hour before she stormed away crying when I told her that she is the stereotypical, sheltered child who will fail at life. My parents are mad at me and say that I went overboard. I don't think so. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. The sooner that she learns that you can't blame everyone else for everything, the better off she will be. Not the a-hole. Occam's razor. It's not every single one of her teachers individually that's the problem. It's her. Someone's gotta say it. Doesn't seem like it was going to be your parents.